All right, welcome back to the podcast that knows what Wallace is talking about. Welcome back to the podcast that knows when GTA 6 is coming out. Welcome back to the podcast that knows the first 23 A's in A24. Welcome back to the podcast that will buy the first round. Welcome back to the podcast that will represent you in court no matter what. Welcome back to the podcast that will show you how to turn your fucking life around. Welcome back to the podcast that has it in them to make it epic. Welcome back to the best moment of your week. Welcome back to another episode of Love, Death and Movies podcast, internet's #1 film breakdown and review show. The show that crushes watch lists week after week. Every month is a different genre. Every week is a different film in the genre. So follow us on everything. Join us on the ride and let's watch some movies. I'm one of your hosts, as always, Harry. With me, of course, is the pride of the West Coast. She was gone for a week. We went off the rails. But she's back to kind of rein me in a bit. Ash vs. Movies. Ash, how are you?
Hi, Harry. It's been a long week since I last saw you,
Yeah, amen.
but I'm here.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. Well, today, Ash, we're talking about one. I think it's a collective favorite of ours, which is really cool. Byron's not on this week. He might be on next week. We hope until next week, but it'll just be the dynamic duo this week. But this week we're not cornering off. It's ending off. How do we say this? Like, this is the anchor point of the month of directorial debuts, and we're doing this with Rob Reiner's
The finale.
The finale. I like that. We're doing this with Rob Reiner's This Is Spinal Tap, which I'm excited about. So just to give you a quick synopsis before we just before we do that, my bad. How was your week, Ash? Tell me
Are
some
you
highs
sure
and
you
lows.
want to hear about my week, Harry?
If you like, whatever you like to do.
You know, some weeks are good, some weeks kick your ass, and that's just life. Yeah, this has not been a great week for me, but I'm officially off until next Wednesday. I'm headed down to Hollywood area
Ooh.
tomorrow for a little 48-hour early birthday trip.
Do you want to say what you're going to
That
be
my
doing?
Sure.
It's
Well,
pretty cool.
my wonderful husband surprised me with a trip down there because we're going to see Pulp Fiction for the 30th anniversary at the New Beverly,
That's so cool.
which I'm like totally not selling it because I'm not like mentally well right now, but I'm very excited. I don't know what else we're doing. Everything else we're doing is a surprise, but we're just going till Monday and a little quick 2-day trip. So I'm looking forward to it. And that's pretty much it. Yeah. Been a rough like health and just mental state week, but trying to hang in there. How are
Oh,
you?
oh yeah. Well, sorry. Well, I'm glad you're back. Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of. Last week we had Alex on, Alex Coleman. Shout out! What a lovely man Alex is. I think everyone knows this. Like everyone that we've had on so far have just been incredibly nice. But it's really cool to see that. Like we talked with them over messages, of course, and we've known them from TikToks, like George, from AJ, Alex, Cam. But like actually talking to every one of them, like in full in-depth detail of a movie, like they're actually lovely people, and they're all of them
Yeah.
so far. Like this sounds like a stray, which it shouldn't be at all. They're just so much much more in depth about films than I thought they would be. And like I knew they would be, but like you go
Mm-hmm.
listen to the District 9 podcast, go listen to the After Sun podcast with George. Like it's so impressive, and I think that it really just reaffirmed to me why they all have the platform that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but how my week's been? My week's been great. I'm a big Swans fan, and we won
Are you?
on huge. So, yeah, Swans are AFL team, so it's the sport of the country of Australia. Um, and my team, the Sydney Swans. Oh, tell you what, top of the table. I sent you a photo of what one of the mark is a catch. One of the catches the other night. Unbelievable. I was in a pub. Pub was going pub. I don't. You got pubs in America,
Yeah.
surely? Yeah. I don't know what you got in that fucking Narnia type land
Dude, we
over
don't
there.
even know what we have.
Yeah, fair play. But that place was erupting, which was awesome to see. But so that my entire week was kind of that, and work was good. I don't think I saw any kind of films. I did go to see The Matrix last week in the cinemas, and I think I messaged you after this. I was like, yeah, I did. I messaged you after this. I was like, this is the best sci-fi film ever made, and this is now my second favorite movie of all time. Well, I'm going to
Wow.
sneeze. I'm going to go on mute for one second.
He is going into a sneeze attack because he's so excited about it. I
Thank you.
think he's coming back though.
I'm
Okay,
back.
he's
I'm
back.
back. It's. I've got terrible hay fever, and it's pollen season is hell in Australia at the moment. I
Oh
went and
yeah.
got a coffee, and I think I have you ever seen like pollen clouds where you basically
Oh
like
yeah.
walk through them? Yeah, yeah. They wreck your week. But other than that,
Mm-hmm.
good week. Good week. I might have to go on mute every now and then just for a sneeze, but.
I got you.
I'm gonna tough it out. But this week, Ash, we're calling off. It's the finale of the
Grand finale.
directorial debuts. I can't wait to announce what we're doing for next month. I think that like we had a good discussion over like we by the way we've programmed the next basic 6 months of the show, which is really exciting. But Ash's idea for the next month and what we like made it, I think is fucking sick. So I'm really keen. I'm very very keen, Ash. Well done. But that's for next month. That's for next week to start talking about. We're talking about This Is Spinal Tap. Ash, hell yeah. Made in 1984, directed by Rob Reiner. This had how much do you reckon the budget was for this? Looking at the film,
Oh, I think it was like under just 10 million or less. I can't remember.
$2 million.
2 million.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And the box office was 4.7 million, which doesn't seem like much, but I'm sure it's a lot more than that with video like
In
stream.
the 80s?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But like, I think it's much more become like a cult hit since it came
Hmm.
out. But yes, quick synopsis. Prepare to crank those amps up to 11. This is Spinal Tap shines a light on the self-contained universe of a metal band struggling to get back onto the charts, including everything from its complicated history of ups and downs, gold albums, name changes, and undersold concert dates, along with the full host of requisite groupies, promoters, hanger-ons, and historians, sessions, release events, and those special behind-the-scenes moments that keep it all real. So, quick fun fact here: Harry Shearer, Rob Reiner, Christopher Guest, and Michael McKean were given $10,000 to write a script here. They made a 20-minute version of the film to better demonstrate the improv that they had in mind. Sorry, I cannot say that word today. The improv that they.
Improvisation.
Thank you. Where were you last week? I tripped over so many words. Several scenes from the demo are now in the finished film. So this is Spinal Tap. Ash, what do you think about this Spinal Tap? Like, when did you first see it?
This movie. I love this movie. I've seen it 4 times now, and it all has happened in the last year. So up until like a year ago, I had never seen it before.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I consider myself to be a queen mockumentary style films and TV shows. I have been for a very long time. And this is kind of the OG. This one sort of is the like one of the first to do it. And I had never seen it. And I always heard about it. And I had watched, I think it was, I don't know if we were like rewatching What Hot American Summer. I was rewatching something that was just like that super campy, kind of like over the top kind of humor. And I was like, yeah, I need to watch this, the Spinal Tap. It's been too long. Like I just putting it off. So I think I finally watched it like maybe about a year ago, maybe a little bit less than that. Absolutely fell in love with it. I think it was, I think last year I said in like my wrap up video of 2023, it was the funniest movie I watched all year. Like I laugh so much when I watch it. I actually just watched it like April 1st and then I watched it again this last week.
That's
So
awesome.
I don't get tired of it. I genuinely think that it is some of the most impressive improv comedy. It is poking fun at like those 80s rock bands and kind of their journey they go on, throughout their changes in their group. And I just think that Michael McKean and Christopher Guest together just bring out something that is unlike anything else. I don't know if you've seen Best in Show or Waiting on Guffman or any of those other films. So those are all Christopher Guest directed films. This one feels the most like a Christopher Guest movie, but it's Rob Reiner's movie. So it's very interesting to kind of see where he was before he did all these other movies, like in the late 90s, early 2000s. But I just think that Christopher Guest is one of the funniest people out there. And in this movie, as his character Nigel, is all-time character
Oh,
for me.
so good.
There's no one funnier in this movie than him. And I just don't think it's really like anything else. And that's kind of where I'm at for now. So I'll stop there. But I love this movie. I think it's hilarious. I think it's very inventive. And it kind of changed the game for mockumentary, which we know is such a common thing now. And I don't think people realize this movie is kind of what ignited it.
Yeah, this is a movie that, like, when I first saw it, I thought this was a real band, and a lot of people did. Like, it's kind of like the funny Blair Witch, in a
Hmm.
way. But I got a fun fact that is very relevant to what you said. That several rock stars have commented on what uncannily. What an accurate spoof of the rock and heavy metal world this film is. Ozzy Osbourne said that he first watched the film and he was the only person who wasn't laughing. He thought it was a real documentary. U2 guitarist The Edge said, "I didn't laugh, I wept. It was so close to the truth." Marillion had 5 drummers in the space of a year between their first 2 albums, which guitarist Steve Rothery later admitted that it was like Spinal Tap. So this is exactly what you said. That like this is so eerily identical to real rock and roll bands, which I think's hilarious. But I love this movie. I think this movie's great. I echo everything you said. This is only the second time I've watched it. I watched it when I was like late teens. I loved it then. I thought it was like fun, inventive, and just really like. I wouldn't see calling it dumb is really a detriment to this movie. It's not dumb at all, but I think it like has the mask of being dumb at times, but like it's not. It's kind of like it's the world that they're talking about is dumb, and they're just putting a spotlight onto it.
It's actually very self-aware, and that's what makes it so funny. Is that it is really dumb, but it's self-aware dumb. It's very feels very authentic, which I think is what makes it so funny. And they don't obviously feel like they're overacting. Like I think a lot of this is improv, like you were talking about. So to me, that makes it feel more real. And I think that's why it can be kind of like, ooh, am I supposed to laugh or cringe at this? Because it does feel so close to home, even though you know these are actors. So it's just like a weird headspace you have to kind of get yourself into. And then once it starts unfolding, I feel like you can really just kind of immerse yourself into the chaos and some of the cringe, and it just becomes so funny.
Yeah, that's very, very true. I love this movie. But let's get into it, Ash. All right, part 1. I don't have any part names, but part 1.
How dare you?
1. I don't know. Like if only I had it 11 parts. I don't have 11 parts, but
if it doesn't go to 11, I'm done. I'm hopping off now.
Maybe I say it does go to 11, and then when you finish, we're already done. So you can actually hop off. But it is what it is. Director Marty DeBurgerdy. That's what director Marty, played by Rob Reiner, presents this rockumentary showcasing the North American tour of aging rockers Spinal Tap. Band members David, Nigel, Derek form the core of the group, with the keyboardist Mick and various drummers dying over the years in freak accidents and through spontaneous human combustion. So I've got the 5 different ways that the drummers have died over the years. Can you remember any of them, like off the top of your head?
I know that there's a couple that were like due to like explosion type things gone wrong on the stage. I can't. There's a really funny one I can't remember right now, and I'm sure you're gonna go over it.
Yeah. So I got number 1, which is John Stumpy Peppies died in a bizarre gardening accident that the authorities said was best left unsolved. David's like, he died in a bizarre gardening accident, and I was like, authorities said, best leave it. Unsolved. That's awesome. Number 2, Eric Stumpy Joe Childs. He choked to death on someone else's vomit, with a note
that one's the one I was thinking of.
With a note that the authorities could not determine whose vomit it was, as, quote, "You can't really dust for vomit."
You gotta say it like Nigel.
You can't really dust for vomit.
Like the way he says it is so gold.
It's so sick. Number 3, Peter James Bond. Spontaneously combusted on stage during a jazz blues festival on the Isle of Lucy, leaving behind a little green global. Number 4, Mick Shrimpton exploded on stage, continuing the trend of drummers spontaneously combusting. And 5, Joe Mama Besser claimed to have died of natural causes, but was replaced after merely exploding. Like, these guys, hilarious. So the band was set to promote their new record, Smell the Glove, featuring a degrading photo of a woman in bondage smelling a glove. Quote, "What's wrong with being sexist?" I've got so many little quotes throughout this whole thing. This is where we see the band members have that gigantic cold sores on their lips for that one scene. They're just in the diner, and they all just have giant
herpes.
Yeah, which is which is a form of herpes. And this is just like classic satire of the rock and roll lifestyle. But it's just for that one scene, and then it's just gone. I think it's hilarious. So part 2. Spinal Tap is being transported to their next gig, and to pass time, they're reading the autobiography of Rat Pack member Sammy Davis Jr. The limo driver has a one-sided conversation with them about Frank Sinatra's history, and they just put up the blinder. The next song that being played there is a smash hit, Big Bottom, which features the three lead members all playing bass guitars, which I thought was I'm a big fan of rock and roll. I think it's my favorite genre of music. Them all playing bass guitars is hilarious in itself. So I love all that sort of stuff. There's elements in this movie that is funny for everyone, which I really appreciate. So we also learn how Spinal Tap's back catalogue was received by critics. Most of the albums received mixed reviews, but one album called Shark Sandwich received two-word review, just shit sandwich. Their religious rock album, The Gospel According to Spinal Tap, was also poorly received. Their next stop takes them to the Atlanta Recording Convention. That's when they learn about a couple of their gigs were cancelled, but nothing to be worried about. It appears their record label marketing department had was completely offended by the proposal of the album cover, as stores have flat out said that they just will not sell the album, citing it as filth. Spinal Tap's promoters get into a huge argument in the record label, especially with the CEO of Bobby Fleckman, who cites the album cover as sexist. Again, what's wrong with being sexist? Fucking love this movie. While backstage at their next gig in Chapel Hill, Nigel is complaining about the quality of food being presented to them. He tells the manager that it's catastrophic. It's a complete catastrophe, and they're like, and they wouldn't like being served that food either. The next song they played is Hellhole. All the names of their songs throughout this entire film are brilliant. I think do you ever listen to their album?
I mean, I've seen the movie enough times to where I feel like I know the main ones.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, the next song is Hellhole, which is rather well received by the theatre crowd. During the song, Nigel gets a rather tense guitar solo and falls to the ground, requiring roadies to pick him up. The next day, Marty is going over Nigel's massive amounts of equipment that they transport from show to show. Love that scene so much. He then explains how the amplifiers don't end at 10, they go to 11, which is louder. And Marty asks, well, why don't you just make 10 louder and then make 10 the top number, and that's just a little louder. And Nigel pauses, looks at him, looks at the amplifier, goes, these go to 11. So good. The next gig in Charlotte proves to be another disaster, where the gig is cancelled based on lack of advertising funds. Quote, there is such a fine line between stupid and clever. One of my favorite quotes of this whole movie. That's all about them talking about the album cover, the cover art of a competing band's cover. So that's the first two parts. We do these with comedies. It's kind of hard to break down movies like this. It's kind of just good to go through it. But like, anything else that pops out to you at the beginning of this, like the whole mockumentary style? I do like how it's Rob Reiner. Rob Reiner's in it. Yeah. I do like that.
I mean, I'm a huge Rob Reiner fan. I always have been. And this was just, like I said, one that was a blind spot for me for a long time. Obviously, The Princess Bride is one of my favorite movies ever. When Harry Met Sally, like he's done some great stuff. So getting to just like, I don't know, open to seeing him like young Rob Reiner, to me, it was like so nostalgic immediately that I kind of just like fell into the world of the documentary that he's making. And I love that he's the director and he's the creator of the documentary in the movie too. So I think it sets it up really nicely. It's almost like kind of meta in that way, I guess.
Yeah.
And then, the introduction to the band. Nigel is my absolute favorite. I just don't think that anyone's on the same level as Christopher Guest. I do love Michael McKean, obviously, even like in Better Call Saul. He's amazing. He's a very talented actor. It's very strange to watch him in this after you just watched Better Call Saul like I did. It's very jarring. But yeah, I think that the three of them are hilarious together. Even the third gentleman, the smaller brunette guy. I always forget his name. Harry something. Right?
I'll get it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean... Let's see, the party where we get Fran Dresser as Bobby Fleckman. Her voice is just iconic. I love some of the songs we get introduced to. I mean, the bigger the cushion, the sweeter the pushin'. Like just some of the lyrics are so ridiculous.
Harry Shearer
The
is who
looser
you're
the
talking about.
waistband, the deeper the quicksand. Like they go so hard with the rhyming. It's fantastic. It definitely pays homage to like 80s rock and roll bands, which I mean, obviously I love rock and roll as well. Part of the fun for this with me too is like watching it with my husband Adam because he has guitars, he has electric guitars, he has amps. Like, so some of these scenes, like when Nigel's showing off all his guitars, he's like, don't even touch that one. Don't even look at it. Like, we crack up because it's just like when you're a kind of a guitar collector, it's just obviously he's not in the band, but it's just sort of funny. So, it's kind of become like a little fun favorite movie of ours to watch together. There's just so much to love here. I can't think of anything else specifically to add, but the goes to 11 bit
Yeah, it's
is one of
iconic.
my favorite things to ever exist in a movie ever. And it's the way that Christopher Guest as Nigel just is so nonchalant about everything he says because he's so stupid that he doesn't even realize that what he's saying is so ridiculous. He like believes it to be truth. And
Yeah,
that's what makes the comedy so unique to me. I feel like this movie definitely could not hit for everyone depending on your humor. But if you just like really immerse yourself into it, it it's just I can't think of anything that's that much funnier. Like, yeah, it's not the best movie ever made as far as a comedy, but the improv and the humor in it is so unique to me that I do think it is funnier than a lot of other comedies out there.
I just don't think they make comedies like this anymore, like
No,
at all. Like
definitely not.
a lot of we can go on and on about modern comedies, but vast majority are one-liner comedies. They're just there to get a quick joke and move on to the next one. It's like every comedy
Hmm.
nowadays is just all about getting to the next joke. When
Hmm.
comedies back in like 70s, 80s, why they're so brilliant is because they're not the first like genre isn't sorry, the first genre isn't comedy. Like we think of one
Hmm.
of my favorites, which I deem as a comedy, is Ghostbusters. That's a
Hmm.
disaster film first, comedy second. Caddyshack is a sports film first, comedy
Hmm.
second. This is Spinal Tap is a mockumentary first, comedy second. Like they use comedy as a bouncing board, like off like an actual genre. Whilst
Hmm.
today you think of any Kevin Hart film. Sorry, Kevin, I know you're a friend of the show and you're listening in, but like you think of any movies like that, and the entire
Yeah.
plot is kind of just get to the next joke. Like,
Yeah.
it's just the attention span of. I don't even think it's the attention span of audiences. I think it's what studios think the attention span of audiences are, and just is what it is. But yeah, they just don't make comedies like this anymore, which is quite sad.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's a great point. And I think because it's not too forced here and because they are doing so much improv, it does come like kind of rolls off the tongue more naturally. You don't get that feeling of, oh, yeah, they're just trying to get to the next punchline, the next joke. It just feels very much like you're watching real people. And you have to like remind yourself that this isn't a real band. Like you said, people thought like, oh, this is a real documentary when it came out. So yeah, I think it's just so clever. And I especially love the scenes throughout this first chunk where they're sitting in the outside area with Marty and kind of going through like they kind of backtrack to that scene every so often. Like, they go back and they'll talk about the drummers and then they'll talk about all the band names.
Yeah,
Well, first we were the originals. And then there was another band named the Originals. So then we had to change ourselves, like
it's
just
the new
going through
originals or
all of that.
something.
The
Yeah,
new
which
Originals.
in
And
itself
it's
is so good.
so good. And their accents just make it so much better.
Because
So
yeah, it's because they're
yeah.
so oblivious. It's how like
Yes.
they always look at it. But the like when they talk about their every time they go back to another drummer and they're like I'm pretty sure I got it in my notes, but he's just like he self combusted and he goes and that actually is pretty common. Just people just don't report on self combustions every
Yes,
year. Yeah,
yes, that
like
kills me.
that
And
sort
then
of
he
stuff.
asked the current drummer, like, are you concerned, like, with the history of? It's like, well, there's bound to like be an end to it. Like,
There's
it's
bound.
got to end with one. So like maybe I'm that one that is not. And then obviously, well, we'll get to the end, but yeah, there's just so many little things like that where you can't write this kind of comedy. I feel like you
No,
do just kind of have to improv it. You have to just sort of bounce off each other, roll off the tongue, and these guys have great chemistry, so that makes it
I
that
just
much
don't
better.
see. I'm not generalizing all of modern comedic actors. I just don't see modern comedic actors getting to this level of improvisation, or even just being approved to be able to do this
Hmm.
level of improvisation, which I
Yeah.
think is quite sad. I don't know. It is what it is, but it also allows for movies like this to become legendary and iconic,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is kind of beautiful in itself. But part 3, Ash. The next interview with Marty, we learned that Spinal Tap has a dwindling audience. At the start of the year, the tours were booked at 10,000 and 15,000 seat arenas, and now they're booking 4 to 5K little arenas. And a fact that their manager, Ian, who I love Ian, by the way, Ian's one of my favourite characters in this, Ian dismisses as a sign of the band's popularity being waning. They proceed to take out their frustrations by destroying a hotel room. Remember how he's got a cricket bat? He's like, oh, what do I use this for? Oh, just to let off some gas. He's just
Such a classic rock band thing.
so good. As Nigel's on the phone with their promoter, they learn that a number of their gigs across the Midwest have been cancelled. But thankfully, they've saved when Derek informs them that their song recorded in the past called "Listen to the Flower People," which is all about hippies and environmental, was being played on the local radio. But the happiness is short-lived when the announcer refers them to "Where Are They Now" segment. Shortly before this blow to their... Sorry, I wrote this at the beginning of the week, and every now and then I do typos, and it like messes with my mind. Shortly before this blow to their collective ego, David is on the phone to his long-term girlfriend Janine, who is trouble, who tells him that she should come see them when they're in Milwaukee. Nigel is less than enthused. He views Janine as an interloper and a disruption to his relationship with David. Man, Nigel's the best. Thankfully, Spinal Tap has managed to secure a gig in Memphis. They paid tribute to Elvis Presley by stopping at Graceland and singing "Heartbreak Hotel," though none of the band members can remember any of the words. No, I think it's "and a heartbreak." I love it. And none of them are singing in harmony as well. That's a really fun little simple scene, I think. Spinal Tap's first single was released in 1968, and they've been a band ever since, and evolving from the times and the trends through the recent times that just haven't been kind to them. We also learn of another drummer that died a mysterious death. This one's combusted spontaneously on stage. David says, several, dozens of people spontaneously combust every year. It's just not really widely reported. It's one of the best. Part
confidence.
4. It's so funny. Part 4. At their next gig in Milwaukee, they play a sound check where they play another song from their very early days, "Give Me Some Money." Janine appears, and while David is thrilled to see her, Nigel barely can't hide his disappointment. Ian appears with a box of copies of "Smell the Glove," where they're stunned to learn that the studio's decided to go with a different direction of the album cover, and it's just completely all black instead of their proposed and very controversial cover. Their next song is called "Rock and Roll Creation," which was fun. And Derek is trapped in the prop pod of the entire song, and the roadies are desperately trying to free him with no success, and they're like trying to pry him out of it, and he's just in there playing. I thought it was so good, and it opens eventually when everyone else goes back into their pods. The next interview with Marty interviews Spinal Tap's drummer. This is what we're talking about. They ask him whether or not the history of Spinal Tap drummers have him afraid of what might happen to him. He says it's no big deal. On the tour bus to the next gig, the band throws a huge party. While in Chicago, they have a record signing, but no one shows up, upsetting the band, and the promoter blames himself, which is played by Paul Schaefer. Spinal Tap manages to secure their next gig in Cleveland. Unfortunately, as the crowd is demanding they play, they get lost repeatedly on the way to the stage in this cluttered and maze-like basement. And they get to this janitor, and the janitor's like gives them directions, and they like basically take them, and they just wind back up to the janitor, and the janitor's like, "Oh, you must have taken a wrong turn." It's so good. Oh man, I love that scene of just them wandering around. The next gig in Albuquerque proves to be particularly embarrassing, as the only gig they've managed to secure in town is opening for a magician at a rich kid's birthday party. The rift in the band grows larger and larger. While on a break between gigs, Janine presents the band with illustrations of new onstage costumes and makeup for the band, which is just them turning into like parasites.
In like zodiac signs. She's like intertwining it into like astrology.
Yeah, exactly. Nigel's again annoyed and tells everyone that they can enhance their live performance with a prop from one of their greatest songs, Stonehenge. He draws a quick
Oh my
diagram
God.
of the scenery on a napkin, handing it to Ian, who says he'll have it made. When that gets presented to them of what the Stonehenge is, and that scene where Ian's like talking to the set designer or whoever she is, it's like, yeah, so when this is really made, and she's like, what do you mean? This is it. It's like, this can't be it. This ain't as tall as three people. It's like,
Poor woman.
and she looks and goes, you said 18 inches. You're looking at it, it does say 18 inches. I think he meant 18 feet, but that's not how you write feet. Oh man, that's so funny. Anything to add to here, Ash?
Oh, Harry, there's so much. I'm sorry, I keep laughing while you're talking, and it's probably
No, that's
causing some
that's kind of the
background noise,
point of
but I
these.
can't.
That's kind of the point of these type podcasts when we're talking about comedies. Like, this is what it is.
This movie is unreal. Also, backing up for a second, the scene at the beginning you talked about when Nigel's complaining about the food. Can we just set the stage for people maybe who haven't seen this movie? They're playing mainly at like colleges. Okay. When we're talking like
Yeah,
4,000 person venues, it's not like small amphitheaters in the center of town. These are like college campuses. And they even talk about how, like, don't you find it odd that most of your like audience is like young boys, like young men? They're like, well, I think it's a sexual thing. We're up there with the tight pants and they're
yeah.
putting the cucumbers in their pants. It's just so funny. It just so clearly is like poking fun at like some of these like obnoxious 80s like hair metal bands that were just trying to get the ladies and stuff. It kills me. But yeah, when he's talking about, well, I have to fold it like and it doesn't make sense. This little tiny bread, like that whole scene has me dying laughing every time.
That reminds me.
It's so good.
There was a scene that I didn't write in here that like touches on what you said, where they're going through the airport and the airport security, and Derek is stopped by
Yes.
the metal detector, and he's like, "Oh, it must be the zipper, must be the zipper." He
He's
takes
like
off the,
plops it out.
and then he's like gets done again, and he's just got a giant cucumber in his pants. That's a
Wrapped in
little
saran or wrapped in foil.
wrapped in foil. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
Absolutely.
good.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
Anyways, that was just I forgot to mention that. But yeah, that sandwich scene is fantastic. But yeah, I mean, obviously you kind of watch them like slowly go from like college campus to even smaller venues. Like they go to an amusement park venue, which is the one you were talking about with the magic show. Um, yeah, so let's talk about the introduction of Janine. I
Trouble.
love this because I feel like this is definitely a thing that has had to happen. Maybe not in like large bands that we're used to listening to, but definitely in rock bands. I have to imagine there had to be like one wife, one girlfriend who's like,
Oh
she wants to be
yeah.
involved. She wants to control the lyrics, the songs, what they do, things that she can help them be better. And so I think they portray that perfectly. And I think because of the way that David's personality is, it makes sense that it's like his partner. So I really love that they added that in. I love the scene where they're interviewing them. And David's like, well, here's the thing. Janine and Nigel are so similar. And the camera's just like getting closer to her. And she's like, yeah, like you can tell she does not agree with him at all. She's
Yeah.
like, I fucking hate you right now. Why are you saying that we're similar? Like, I can't stand Nigel. And he's just going on about how the problem is that they're just too similar, so they can't get along. I love the camera work there where like it zooms in on her facial reaction while he's talking about that. I think it's just absolutely gold. Um, but yeah, I think this part of the movie is just sort of like getting more chaotic, getting more entertaining. You're kind of getting to this like big climax of like there's going to be this downfall probably.
Yeah.
Clearly their gigs aren't going well, the album's not going well. They're kind of just falling apart all over the place. And I don't know if we already got to the scene where Ian is wearing. Every time I see this scene, I'm just like, oh, is he about to go like back to Hogwarts and play for Gryffindor on the Quidditch team? Because that's what he looks like.
I know
Every
what you
single time.
mean.
That outfit is just so Harry Potter, which is so funny because it came out obviously way before
I
Harry
thought the
Potter
same
did.
thing because when that scene, I was like, he looks like a wizard.
Yeah. Like he's just way ahead of the game. He's out there 20 years early. So, go him. But yeah, the Stonehenge, I'm sure you're gonna get into the actual like scene of them performing it, but might be one of the funniest moments in the entire film.
I get into it, but the little people dancing around the little figure of the Stonehenge prop, one of the funniest things I think I've seen in years. Like, that is truly, truly hilarious. And it's just like, it's after the song, and the song's, it's just them just dancing around it. But it's
I
also,
thought it was gonna be so huge.
yeah, it's just this little thing that's, oh man, it's so good. But yeah, I go into it now. So part 5, the next show has the band performing Stonehenge with a spoken word prelude by Nigel and the band wearing Drood-like costumes. When the model of Stonehenge descends from the rafters, and it's from the rafters, they're astonished to see it's only 18 inches high instead of life size. In the napkin drawing, Nigel has mixed up feet and inches, and they also have little people dancers in Celtic costumes. They dance around the prop, and they're threatening to knock it over. I adore this scene. I'm the same with you. I think this is the funniest scene in the entire film. I was watching it just like, because it's so stupid. First off, why are they Droods? Like, at all?
I don't know.
It just makes zero sense. But then it's like this whole thing about Stonehenge, and then like they had this big idea to create this whole set, and it's literally just so small. I think it's so funny. So back at the hotel after the gig, the band gets into a fight with Ian, blaming him for the recent live mishaps and lost gigs. Ian argues that he's overworked, buried in the logistics of the tour, the petty and petulant demands of the band themselves, and often called upon to perform impossible tasks. David suggests that they replace Ian with someone who can manage the tour more effectively, namely Janine. Ian explodes and storms out. The next gig takes them to San Diego and Miramar. Is that a real thing? Miramar Air Force Base. A lot of the places in your country, Ash, they're just the names are wild. Like, they're just. Let's talk about America. Sidewalks. That is a lazy name. That's a lazy name. They're called pathways. All right, you walk on the path. Sidewalk.
And some neighborhoods don't even have them. Like where I used to live before where I live now, you would take like a walk around the neighborhood. It would just end and it would just be curb. And then all of a sudden a sidewalk would appear again. And then it'd be curb. Like you don't even have a full walking path in some cities. That's ridiculous.
Well, I'm glad you don't live there anymore, Ash. I'm glad you're in a safer place. Like,
yeah, I'm safe now. I have pathways.
I'm just... Where was I? There I was. Cool. In Miramar Air... Sorry, I'll just start from the beginning of the sentence. Their next gig takes them to San Diego and the Miramar Air Force Base, where they're the entertainment for the weekend reception. The band goes on playing one of their most raunchiest songs of all time, just named Sex Farm. Unfortunately, the crowd isn't interested and stop dancing and basically sit back down. Many of them just covering their ears in the audience. A frustrated Nigel walks off stage, slamming his guitar down after his wireless box picks up and broadcasts one of the base's air traffic signals, which I think that's actually hilarious. I love that when they start doing that. While being interviewed by Marty, David tries to gloss over Nigel's departure by saying that the bands go through many changes and that it won't affect the remainder of the tour. He also admits that he'd be more upset if he, quote, weren't under such heavy sedation throughout it at that particular moment. So part 6, final part. I love talking about this movie. This movie, like, again, whenever I do these notes, I always watch the film. We record, like, peek behind the curtain. We record these on Saturday, my time, Friday, Ash's time. I always watch the movie probably around Monday, my time, Sunday, Ash's time. Just to kind of like, I'm never stressed by time. But it also allows me to, like, when I write these notes, it's like watching the movie for a second time.
Yeah.
I love it. It's good fun.
Especially with comedies.
Yeah. So part 6, the last date of the tour is in Stockton, California. Stockton, Ash, another weird name. Just putting it out there. Your country's on notice with me.
Yeah, that's up towards me.
Okay, just letting you know.
I don't live near, but that's up north. That's up Northern California.
That's cool. I'm just letting you know you're on notice. I'm just letting you know that Stockton in itself, Stockton residents, I know you're listening. We're coming.
You don't want to go to Stockton, Harry.
No, I don't.
It's not safe.
I definitely do not. But the last day of the tour is in Stockton, California, at a local country fair or county fair, where the band is billed under a puppet show. Love this. Where Janine's like, I specifically told them to put you on top. And it says puppet show,
Spinal
and then
Tap
this is
and Puppet Show.
yeah, puppet show. It's so good. Backstage, the band is hastily tries to come up with a live set without Nigel. Many of their songs that they play are Nigel's and are cut out of the lineup in itself. Derek says that they have left. Derek says what they have left will constitute a show that no longer than 10 minutes alone, which is hilarious. It's just such a short show. He suggests they play an experimental song that he's been developing for several years called Jazz Odyssey, a freeform instrumental at least 10 minutes long. On stage, David introduces the band as a reborn unit, Spinal Tap Mark II, with Janine playing tambourine. The audience shows their immediate displeasure, many of them leaving and giving the band the thumbs down sign. This song in itself, like you hear a bit of it, it's awful. It's truly terrible. Or a lot of these songs are actually quite groovy, and they're like in a satire sort of way. But this song is terrible. A party is thrown in Los Angeles to mark the end of the US tour. David and Derek talk about several side projects that they both have in mind that they feel that they can explore now that Nigel is gone. One of the ideas is a musical called Saucy Jack, based on the life of Jack the Ripper. They also believe that they can write a few more. They can wring out a few more years out of the nearly defunct Tap without Nigel being there. At another late gig, the band is ready to go on stage when Nigel finally appears. He tells them that he bumped into Ian and found out that Sex Farm had actually become a huge hit in Japan, and that he'd be willing to come back for a tour. David rebuffs him but accepts a good wish of good luck from Nigel before they go on playing Tonight We're Gonna Rock You Tonight. As he stands watching them at the side of the stage, David motions for Nigel to come and join them. Nigel runs on, grabs the guitar, begins to jam. So the final scene has the band playing live to a huge Japanese audience, seemingly revitalized. Ian is also there, seemingly rejoined the band, taking up his old position as manager with Janine nearby. The band plays to thunderous applause. And fun fact here to end this all off: after the film opened, several people told Rob Reiner that they loved the film and that he should have chosen a more well-known band for a documentary, which I think's hilarious. I think that in itself, if you were Rob Reiner and you had people asking that, you're like, job done, like instantly, 100%.
Absolutely.
So this is Spinal Tap. Ash, what are your final thoughts? Give me a score. And
Oh man.
any final review? Any final little nitpicks?
I can't remember if it's in the credits because this movie is an example of credits that have additional scenes that are also hilarious.
Yep.
As some of the ones in the movie. I think this might be the credits might be where Nigel's talking about how his spine t-shirt is an exact replica of his skeleton.
Yes.
And he's like, it's actually green. That whole thing kills me. I love his t-shirt. I love how he explains that. The way that Christopher Guest plays that character, there's something about the mannerisms, the way he does the accent, the way he just delivers the lines. And then he's always like chewing gum, and he just makes like the craziest faces on stage whenever he's playing the guitar. Like it's just all so perfect. I love it. I think it's funny that David kind of has like a more feminine nature to his character. He wears a lot of clothes where I'm like, I swear it looks like a woman's top or something. Like he has much more of like a feminine look, whereas I feel like Nigel kind of is like more of this like cut off t-shirt, like, but they still wear a lot of like tight, bright pants, and they kind of bring out that full like 80s rock and roll look, which I think is
very, very 80s. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think that final moment when he comes in and it's like David's trying to like lecture him and kind of like yell at him and be mad. And I love how calm and cool collected he is. Like Nigel's just like, no, I mean, I'm just here. Like, I'm just letting you know what I find out. Like, he's just trying to be so nonchalant about it. And I kind of love that he doesn't like get all worked up or, they don't have like some big blow up. He's just sort of like, I'm just here to give you the information. He knows David. That's the thing. They've known each other for a long time. So he knows that it's going to be fine. You have to kind of like let him be mad for his little like moment there. And it's kind of nice that you can sort of like, I guess, infer that he's going to bring him back up on stage and they're going to be fine and it's all going to work out. So yeah, I love the way it ends. I give this movie a 4.5 out of 5. That's what I think I gave it a 4 the very first time I watched it. And then I bumped it up the second time. It could eventually go to a 5. Honestly, I don't know. I'm just sort of leaving myself room because I keep seeming to want to rewatch it. I don't think there's much here that doesn't work. I think there is a little bit of a lull maybe when like Ian's first kind of leaving and Janine's kind of stepping in and Nigel's kind of exiting. I think that's the only part of the movie where you might see a small bit of a lull, but I think everything else is really funny, highly entertaining. I think this is just unlike any other improv comedy. Big mockumentary fan, like I said. So it works really well for me. I think people should give it a chance because I think it's just so unique, so special. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about like the acting performances, the
Yeah, no,
cinematography.
it's
Like,
impossible.
we don't care about that. But honestly, the acting performance, I mean, the comedy that they're presenting is fantastic.
The fact that so many people
So,
thought it was real says
yeah,
how good their performances
exactly.
are. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And I think one little funny thing I'll add at the end is I
Of
do
course.
love that the costumes for the final show in Japan.
Oh, so good.
So like Nigel's wearing a Giants jersey. That's like such a thing. Like in Japan, baseball's a really big deal. And so so the Giants are in San Francisco, which is I'm in Northern California. So that's kind of the team I grew up supporting.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's kind of funny that like that's the wardrobe that he's wearing there because that is like a big thing. Like a lot of times like in Japan people will recognize even the Giants and like they play teams or there's like a really famous Japanese player on one of the American teams and they play the Giants a lot. So it's just kind of fun that like he's wearing that jersey. I just think it's kind of a fun little like realistic thing that actually probably would have been like a common outfit for a rock and roll band to be wearing, but it kind of feels out of place if you don't really know, I guess, the history of it. So I thought that was kind of funny.
That's awesome.
But yeah, yeah, I love this movie. I think Rob Reiner's a genius, and I'm really happy that this was received well so that he could go on to make more of my favorite movies.
That's true. Yeah. I echo everything you say. Right now, I have it at a 4, but like I feel like these movies, it's so hard to rate this type of
Yeah.
thing. So like the score really means nothing. I agree with you. Like I think after more watches, it's only going to go up. I do. It's
Hmm.
impossible for this movie to go down now. I think it's way ahead of its time. Which I mean in the most complimentary way possible. Rob, I know you're listening. But I think this movie is just so fun and original. Doesn't take itself seriously, but is also
Hmm.
an incredibly accurate depiction of rock and roll bands and like the stupidity of that world of
Yep.
this self elation that these bands have. I just I had a lot of fun with this movie, and I think that everyone that would watch it would also have fun. This movie's just so dumb all the right ways, but it's so perfectly improvised. And
Hmm.
there's so many one liners in this movie. It's just crazy how like a directorial debut. This is a very strong directorial debut, considering
Yeah.
it's not a normal feature film. It's a mockumentary. But for this to be so iconic and lived on, and like everything from like Dial It Up to 11 to other
Hmm.
elements of like to be that iconic, I think is a testament to itself of this film that is timeless. Um,
Yeah.
but I
And it's
would.
only 82 minutes too.
It's so
So
good. I
if you're
love
looking
that, by the way.
for a really short, movie, I love to recommend movies that are under like 85 minutes to people. And I think this is a perfect one. It's not too long of a commitment. But Harry, for you, you need to watch Best in Show next
Yeah. Okay.
because
All right. I will.
if
I
you
will.
like this movie, you will definitely like that. And then you can kind of see how you feel about it and go on to watch the other Christopher Guest movies. But I mean, we're talking Christopher Guest, Eugene Levy, Catherine O'Hara,
Oh.
Parker Posey.
Oh.
I mean, the list goes on. Jane Lynch,
Oh.
um, Fred Willard, like he's
Oh.
like the one from the boss from Anchorman, like all of these funny
I
people
love Fred
from
Willard.
80s, 90s, early 2000s. They just all together making the most chaotic movies. And they're all mockumentary style. So
Hell yeah.
highly recommend.
I'm definitely in. I can't wait. But that is our review for This is Spinal Tap, and that's the end of our month of directorial debuts. Ash, well done. Well done.
Came and went so fast.
Amen. So before we get into our game of the show, Ash, our next month, we're going into it's kind of a weird genre next month. I forgot to have the doc up while I was talking. I probably should have brought it up now. And now
I
I'm
have
just
the
kind of
movie if you don't have it.
I have it now. Well, good. I just forgot what we called the month. So we're doing next month. We're doing quote unquote summer movies, but summer's kind of a weird term across the world. You know, not everyone's in the same season. So we're doing the month of sweat. So movies where just people sweat a lot and they're really gross in that hot weather, that big
Sweaty
heat
season.
wave sort of, which I love, So we're doing the month of sweat. We've got 4 films, which I'll make a little graphic and we'll put it up onto our socials. But for next week, we're starting off with one of my favorite. Have you never seen this movie, by the way? Well, I can't wait for you to watch this movie. We're doing Do the Right Thing. I love this movie so much. This is up there with one of my favorites of all time. I think this movie is spectacular. You're going to love it. Oh my God, Spike Lee is a genius, especially with this film. This film also has a gigantic cast that was there before they got huge. I can't wait to rewatch this. So next week, watch Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. But for the game of the show this week, there's just 2 of us. We're doing a movie draft. We're going to do 10 picks. It's the end of the month of directorial debuts. So doing directorial debuts. And Ash, I did do the wheel spinner thing while one of the moments you were talking, and it did say that I was first.
Okay, I think I recall letting you go first when I hosted, but that's fine.
You know what, Ash?
Use the wheel.
You know what,
Use
Ash?
the wheel.
You know what, Ash? You go first. You're right. You go first. It's only fair. You did let me
That
go
actually
first.
worked. I didn't think that was going to work. Okay.
If you take what I wanted to take, I will be furious. I'm just going to let you know. I will be... But it is what it is. It's the game's the game. The game's the game. So, Ash, directorial debuts. We're also being lenient in terms of if they did a TV movie, couldn't give a shit. This is features.
Okay.
This is just like, let's
I've got 21 on my list here, so let's see. I'll be happy with any of these.
Don't you dare.
I want variety on my list, though. That is one decision I made when I was making this. I was like, I'm not just going to pick the ones that are like the highest rated. Like, I want variety. I don't want this list to have like every movie is like a 4.4 on Letterboxd. I just want to have some fun.
Yeah. Have fun, Ash.
And since we're doing 10, I feel like it's very easy to do that. First, because I didn't get it when we did the movie, I'm going to take After Sun.
Okay, good.
Take Charlotte Wells' debut.
That's a great first
one of the more recent directorial debuts, but I feel like it's just one that I can't stop thinking about this month, maybe because we talked about it, and I want it on my team.
Cool. No, that's a good pick. That's a good pick. If you'd pick 12 Angry Men, I would be furious. So I
wasn't going to do that to you, Harry.
Appreciate it. So I'm going to pick 12 Angry Men.
I knew you would.
Appreciate that. Oh, how good is 12 Angry Men? Have you seen they're making a sequel? 13 Angry Men.
Are they adding you?
Yeah. Could you imagine? Be like, oh, guys, this is
I've
right.
Never seen you angry, but
this ain't that good, eh, guys? Oh,
that's funny.
It's hot. It's hot in this room. It's real hot.
Another very sweaty movie.
That isn't in the month of sweat, but it will be in a month coming up.
It will be.
I'm sure it will.
Okay. Well, that's a great first pick. Very different first picks. We have
I like.
A movie from the 50s and then a movie from 2022. So
yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna take it back. Just a teens. And it's not my favorite movie from this director, but he is one of my favorite directors of all time.
I'm writing it down.
So I will take Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah, I've already started writing it down. Well done.
I need to rewatch it to see exactly where it lands for me. I have it at a 4 right now, but I feel like it definitely could go up.
Tell you what, I saw it in the cinemas last year. It was at a 4 or 4.5 for me. Instantly went up to a 5 after I rewatched it.
Yeah, I feel like that'll be the case. It was actually the first Tarantino movie that I watched. It's just been so long that I need to revisit it.
Well done. No, that's a good pick. Oh, that's what I was going to pick. Damn, Ash. Well done. A lot of people aren't going to agree with this, I don't think. But I think this is one of the best modern horrors. I'm going to go Hereditary.
Nice.
I love Hereditary. Well. I'm watching, I saw the TV Glow next week. So I start... Sydney Film Festival starts the 5th of June, my time. Mm-hmm. And from the 5th to the 15th of June, I think I'm seeing 15 movies now.
Yeah.
See, I'm going to be tired during the podcast that we did that week, just letting you know. But
that makes sense.
The first one I'm seeing is I saw the TV Glow, which a lot of people are saying is more haunting than Hereditary.
Yeah, I feel like I don't even really know how to, go into that film. I've just heard so much about it. I've heard, how cool and how, the imagery. I don't even know, how to prepare myself for it. I'm not even sure when I'm going to get to see it. But I'm very curious. I'm trying not to read too much into it or look at too many reviews. I don't want it to feel. Yeah. I think with Hereditary, when I saw it when it first came out, I was after like one friend told me like this movie is really cool, you got to see it.
Yeah.
I feel like if I was like in the movie talk community at the time and like everyone was talking about it, I feel like it would have ruined it for me. So I tend to not like to have the hype get too built up for something like that. But I'll be very curious to see what you think.
Yeah, I'm very, very keen.
Okay.
Hereditary.
I got to get a horror on my list as well. And as much as you're an Aster boy, I'm a
Already read it.
Peel
Already read it.
fan. So Get Out.
Yeah, well done. That had to go. Between the two, I was like, do I go Hereditary or Get Out next? And like, hey, Get Out won Oscars. Well done. Like, Get Out's fantastic. Every time you watch Get Out, the better it gets. Okay.
If you see me looking down, it's just because I'm using my phone for Letterboxd.
No, that's right. A lot of I see a couple of people have messaged me being like, "You keep looking off the screen." I'm like, "Yeah, because I got notes." I'm like, I'm not just doing
We don't
everything.
memorize this in our brain.
I'm like, this is over an hour podcast every single time. We don't just do it off the lip. Like, I've always got notes. So I'm like, I've got a little laptop here that I'm always looking at. See, now it gets tough because there's so many good. I'm going to go alumni of the Watch This Book Club. I'm going to go what I think is one of the best endings to a film with Sound of Metal.
I should have taken it instead of Reservoir Dogs. I wanted it, and I didn't think that you would have it on your radar this early.
Reservoir Dogs is a better pick. But how good is the ending?
I don't know. Sound of Metal is so unique. Like,
do you want to do a mid-draft trade? Do you want to bring up mid-draft trades? I'll be okay.
No.
With it. I'll take that.
But damn, that's a good steal. I was definitely going to take that next.
Yeah, well, I got it now, Ash.
That's a 5-star film for me. Like, I love that movie.
That ending, that's one of the best endings to a film.
Yeah. All right.
The Batman's there.
So I think this counts. And this is my favorite Spider-Man movie ever made. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I believe, is a directorial debut. Is it? Not?
It's like 5 directors, and there's like one of them.
Okay, so we're not counting those?
I can if you want. I'll count it if you want. I don't mind.
Because technically, it's the only one that these guys made. Well, yes, you're right. There are a bunch. I can pick something else.
Let me look it up. Into the Spider-Verse, because
let me come back to that maybe.
Yeah, because it.
We'll take that off. I don't want to include movies that have like 4 or 5 fucking directors. That's just too much.
Yeah, well, some of them are directorial debuts, but one of them, I'm looking at one of them now. His first was Rise of the Guardians, which was 7 years before, 6 years before.
I'm gonna go.
I wanted to, Ash. I wanted to.
I appreciate that. I didn't do too much digging, but it makes sense. I'll go with my favorite movie from one of my favorite directors, Greta Gerwig.
Fuck! I should just let you add fucking Spider-Man, man. Oh man, I was gonna take Lady Bird. Fucking. Sorry, I interrupted you. What was your pick? Just so that Mike can pick it off because I was started freaking out.
Oh, Lady Bird.
Yeah, I knew what you picked, just in case. Like
the Lady Bird.
Oh, great pick, Ash. Well done. Okay. Now we get to the fun part, like, oh.
Wait, sidebar, do you watch King of the Hill?
Yeah, I used to when I was a kid.
I love that the dog's name is Lady Bird.
Yeah. I'm going to go with another alumni of the Watch This Book Club. I'm going to go with Michael Mann's Thief.
Is that a debut?
Yep.
Why did I not have that on my list?
How good is Thief?
Wow. That you deserve it. I didn't even put it on my list.
I'm just going to double check because
so good.
Pretty sure
It makes sense because it came out so much earlier, like in 81, but I don't know why I didn't have that on my
I'm just double checking now because now I'm second guessing myself, but I'm quietly confident that it is.
Not seeing anything. He has a lot of short films.
Short film, TV movie, then Thief. Yep.
He does have a TV movie called The Jericho Mile. That was
TV movie. Couldn't give a shit.
That's probably why I didn't like when I was looking at lists. Though I feel like sometimes they won't include if they've had a TV movie, they won't include it. So that bums me out. Nice.
Hey, you got Lady Bird and Get Out. All right.
Well, these are all going to be great films. So nobody is really a loser here.
Like I don't think any one of them that has been picked now has been anything less than exceptional.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great pick. It's a great pick.
Thank you. So I did it.
I think I'll go with I'm between two right now. Sorry.
No, no,
I'll
go ahead.
go with the. God, I'm so torn. You know what? No, I'm gonna go with Past Lives. Another recency bias, but Celine Song's
I
debut,
didn't even have
favorite
that on my
movie of
list. Well
last
done.
year. Seems like everyone's finally starting to understand that this is like a 5-star movie. Like people are increasing their score, and I'm just so happy to see it.
I went and saw that at Sydney Film Festival last year. I think that I like it was like months before it came out, and I think I messaged
Mm-hmm.
you and Marta, and I was like, "You
You
guys
did.
need to watch this." But I went and I took one of my buddies who he likes movies, doesn't watch anywhere near as many as that I do, which are like, of course, it's nothing weird. But he came out of that and was like, turned to me and goes, "What are you giving that?" I'm like, high 4.5. I'm like, like I just it needs to like settle for me to be a five. I'm like, I think my always parameter between 4.5 and five is like they're in terms of quality they're the fucking same. Like they're both excellent, but one just has to like affect me more emotionally or
Yeah.
something, which just is what it is. But yeah, and once and he just turned to me and goes, why isn't this a five? And he was like offended by it, and like every now and then, like I'm going to um fuck, I thought I just had a good sleeper pick, but it was their second film. um and every time I invite him to a movie now, he's just like, it's just not going to be a past lives. It's just not.
I
I'm like,
love that.
which I love because he's not like a massively into movies, but he just adores
Mm-hmm.
past lives, which I think is awesome. Sorry,
Love
I'm
that.
getting sidetracked. I was thinking of going the Coen Brothers, but for Raising Arizona, but they did
Oh,
Blood Simple, which apparently is hour 39 long. It is what it is. Damn. Um, let's go. I've got a horror already, but let's go to legacy horror. I'm gonna go Night of the Living Dead.
nice. I never watched that until more recently. I didn't vibe with it as much as I thought I would. I thought it was
I'm
good,
more doing it off
but
legacy. I agree with you. I think it's like a three
yeah,
five
no, for
or
sure.
like it's
Yeah,
more
definitely a classic.
yeah.
Speaking of a classic, I watched the Reanimator last night for the first time. Have
Oh,
you seen
so
this movie?
good. It's so
Yeah,
good.
there's a scene though towards the end that I was very uncomfortable by, and I was like, "Oh, is this what we were doing in the 80s?
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
that's cool."
yeah. The dude,
But yeah,
80s
very interesting concept.
80s were wild. Go listen to our 16 Candles
Yeah,
podcast.
for real. Okay.
For real?
There's one more that I just I want to have it.
Then take it, Ash.
I think this is his debut.
Don't you?
Nightcrawler? Is that Dan Gilroy's debut?
Yeah, it is. Why don't I take it? Oh, Ash, why are you doing this to me?
Such a great Jake G performance.
It is. It is. It is. It is. It is. It is.
You got Sound of Metal, okay?
I did. I really did.
Still so many great options left.
There's still a lot. I'm gonna go with. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. No, maybe. I'm gonna go with American History X.
Okay. It's been a long time since I've seen that one, so I didn't even really have it on the radar.
There's a couple here that I'm like, I'm convinced you don't have on your. Oh wait, you might have one. Okay, I need to get to the next round now. I need to get to the next round. Ash, what's your seventh pick?
Okay. Oh God, I feel like I want to add some fun to my list.
Yeah, do.
Do I?
Yeah, no,
Do I?
whatever you like to do, you know.
There's one more that I really want to have just because I think it's really unique and inspired. Another more modern film that I actually need to rewatch, but I've only seen it once. But Perfect Blue. Have you seen Perfect Blue?
I've not seen Perfect Blue.
Um, it's from 1997. I just want to double check. I believe this is his debut. Yes. Satoshi Kon. If you like Black Swan, I've heard that this is sort of inspiration possibly for that. But this movie's intense.
Really,
It's real good. 82 minutes.
I love how none of us are picking Citizen Kane, which I'm not
I've
gonna.
never seen it.
It's fine. Like, it's fine. I'm not gonna pick it, so don't. so it's not really a thing. But
I feel like I'm always the person that like in the movie talk community, I just like have not seen as many old films and I just kind of own it, you know?
hey,
It's just like my thing.
a lot of movie talkers have watched them in the last year, and then they talk
Yeah.
down on people that haven't watched it. So don't worry. Like
Yeah, it's like
it's
if I
just
grew up on it, like Sound of Music, for example, like yeah, okay, if I grew up on it and I love it and I have like a connection to it, great. But like, yeah, for me to watch something from like 1945 or something now and be like, oh, it's my favorite movie ever. How is that possible? Like it's just so far removed from
yeah,
where
yeah,
we're at now. I don't know.
yeah. Like I grew up on Disturbia. Shout out Marta. Marta's favorite film. They call it Disturbia Marta now. I'm going to go. Oh, see now. Do I risk it? Do I risk
Take the
it to
one you
get the
want to take.
biscuit? Do I risk it to get the
Yes,
biscuit?
always. Always.
Okay, maybe I will. Um, yeah, well, I'm gonna go Donnie Darko.
Nice. It's actually a 5-star film for me. I love that movie.
I love Jake G.
It's on my list.
He's a friend of the show. Did you know that?
Is he?
Yeah, he listens. Hey, Jake.
What's up? Jake?
Roadhouse was average. Average.
That was actually my last 5-star film on my list. So,
Oh, so
okay.
would you have taken it?
I was gonna take it. I didn't know if it was something that you loved that much, so I was gonna wait.
I think it's
Okay.
more influential than I love it, sort of thing.
Yeah. I just rewatched it actually, and I still adored it just as much as I
I
always
haven't watched it in
had.
like 10 years. I might do that this weekend.
Give it a rewatch. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. Um, I'm between two. One is more like claustrophobic performance, and one is just fun. I feel like it wouldn't be me if I didn't take This Is Spinal Tap
Yeah.
because I've seen it like 4 times in the
No,
last year.
it had to
So
be.
I'm gonna go ahead and take it just to not leave it for you.
No, well done.
That was on my list when we did the 80s movies too. I've had it on multiple drafts.
Hey, you love it. You know, that's just
I
what it is.
do.
I'm getting quite low on numbers now. I'm going to take what I think is a great and underappreciated modern Nicolas Cage film with Pig.
Okay. Oh, is that a debut?
Yeah.
Nice.
I love Pig. And the
Great film.
director, what is he doing? He's doing something next. And everyone's saying it looks great. Oh, the new Quiet Place movie.
Oh, right. Okay. Day one.
Michael Sanoski, which just double checking that
Okay.
Pig. He did a short, did TV series, did a short, did TV series, and then he did Pig. Cool. Whew.
Nice.
There's a lot to
Okay.
get through then. But yeah, he's doing a Quiet Place day one. Yep. So your ninth
All
pick,
right.
Ash.
I think I'm gonna go with the one that I was gonna take last that I didn't, and I'll go with Emma Seligman's debut in Shiva Baby, which I think
Oh,
is much better than Bottoms, personally. 78 minutes of just pure secondhand embarrassment and claustrophobia. It's like a psychological thriller. I don't know what you'd call it, but it's fantastic. And I think Rachel Sennett is fantastic in that movie.
she's
So
great,
yeah,
isn't she? She's
I will
fantastic.
take that.
Awesome. Well, to edge off the draft, edge off. I keep saying edge off. To finish off the draft, for my draft at least. Wait, am I? Have I
I
counted
have
this
9,
right?
so
I
think
also
you
have
only
9.
you should be
But
yeah.
then, but you went first. Did I pick 2?
Yeah, so you should still have 2 more picks.
Well, it says I got. I'm done. I'm done now.
Hmm.
That's weird. Did I skip
Okay.
over you once? I must have. So you can pick your 10th.
So you're done? Your list is 10?
I'm at 9 now, so I got one more. Which
Okay.
yeah, I must have.
Oh, you want me to pick one more now and then you
Yeah,
go?
yeah, I must have accidentally skipped
Okay.
over you. Sorry.
It's all good. I'll
Maybe
forgive you.
maybe I picked Donnie Darko a bit too early, eh?
I'm so torn. There's a couple good ones left. I'm not gonna take it. I think you said you haven't seen it, but Blind Spotting, so good. I'm not gonna take it, but that's great little 95-minute directorial debut. I'm between 2. I think I'm gonna go with one of my OG person who got me into horror films. I'm gonna take Saw from 2004,
Oh,
James
James
Wan's
Wan.
debut.
That's a
I love the original
great.
Saw
That's
movie.
a great pick. The ending of
Harry
Saw.
Elway's. Yeah.
So that's a really good pick. I'm just double checking if this is his actual debut.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
No, I'm
But
talking.
oh, yours.
My one. Nah, it's not cool. No, Saw definitely. Yeah, that's really well done. That wasn't even on my list. That's sick. I'm gonna curve off the draft with my 10th pick, which will be Boys in the Hood.
Nice.
Big fan of Boys in the Hood. My bad. I must have
Great.
skipped over you once. Oh well.
No, it's okay. Yeah, some that I missed out on for myself was Ex Machina, Booksmart,
Mm-hmm.
Palm Springs,
Mm.
and Shithouse, Cooper Rife's directorial debut.
Oh
You seen Shithouse?
no. So I
It's a nice
miss.
little like college coming of age movie. I think you'd like it. It's like a
Yeah.
good vibe, kind of chill movie.
Okay.
And then The Last Black Man in San Francisco, also
Great movie.
directorial debut.
Great movie. The only other one that I had on my list was Viva Vendetta. So
Nice.
I was kind of like looking between Boys in the Hood and Viva Vendetta. But to summarize the draft, so Ash had After Sun, Reservoir Dogs, Get Out, Lady Bird, Past Lives, Nightcrawler, Perfect Blue, This is Spinal Tap, Shiver Baby, and Saw. Great picks. Me, myself, Harry, Has Daddy 101, had 12 Angry Men, Hereditary, Sound of Metal, Thief, Night of the Living Dead, American History X, Ex Machina, Donnie Darko, Pig, and Boys in the Hood. And
Who
Scooter
says my list is better?
had Airbud, Airbud 2, Airbud 3, Beverly Hills Chihuahua, Beverly Hills Chihuahua 2, Strays, 8 Below,
My dog Skip.
My Dog Skip, Snow Dogs, the one with Cuba Gooding Jr. and C Spot Run. There we go. Found it.
Yeah.
Well
wins.
done. Well done, Scooter. But that is it for another episode of the Love, Death and Movies podcast. Next week, we are starting up our month of sweat. Again, movies are set in heat waves, really sweaty weather, and people are just super, super sweaty. We're doing that with Do the Right Thing for all the movies that month. Follow us on all our socials. I'll be posting it there. But until next time, I'm Harry. This is Ash. This is the Love, Death and Movies podcast, and we'll see you at the movies.